Greetings, Star Wars fans. I'm Mike, and welcome to Orion's Belt Creations. Uh, this is a long overdue video review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. However, I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to see the film for themselves who haven't had an opportunity to watch it, so that I don't, inadvertently spoil it for anyone. So, beyond this point, everything I have to say will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, I'd advise you not to watch the remainder of this video until you've done so. So I want to approach this a little bit differently than other folks have. And it's going to be a discussion and a comparison. I'm an ultra passionate fan about Star Wars, no doubt about it, particularly where the original trilogy is concerned. And the work of George Lucas. I haven't been really thrilled with the direction that the sequel films have gone in, the exception to that being Rogue One. It was phenomenal. I loved it. It's been the best work that has come out of Lucasfilm since George Lucas handed over the reins to Disney. And that's due almost entirely in part to director Gareth Edwards and the phenomenal cast and crew that he had to work with. I believe Felicity Jones really led that film to victory, so to speak, and Star Wars is a better universe because of it. So with Star Wars The Last Jedi, I watched it on Christmas Eve, and I didn't know anything about Rian Johnson prior to that. I've never seen any of his work before. And I have to say I was really impressed. It really was a good movie. It is the longest film in the Star Wars saga to date at 2 hours and 31 minutes. However, it didn't get bogged down. The pacing was really good throughout the film. There were a couple moments where I felt that things could have been done differently as far as the direction that the story was taking. But overall, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. Now, having said that, I'm not a fan of what Ryan decided to do with Luke, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But I want to talk about each act of the film and certain aspects that I liked and I didn't like. Of course, in the opening act, we see the Resistance fleeing their base on Dakar. And that entire space sequence was really, really great, particularly with the bombers flying in, the A-Wing squadron led by Tally, the new A-Wing pilot. All of those sequences were done phenomenal, really great. The Resistance bomber gunner, Paige, her sacrifice, that entire sequence, all that was phenomenal. The only part of that I didn't like was the humor between Poe Dameron and Hux. I just thought it was ridiculous because it sounded like something from modern day America versus something from Star Wars. And let's face it, we've come to expect a certain difference with Star Wars than we do in everyday life. It's a form of escapism. It's a form of art. It's a completely different galaxy with, not so familiar euphemisms and things of that nature that you just don't expect from Star Wars. So that is definitely something that I would have changed. Progressing beyond that, I would say everything on the island between Luke and Rey, their interaction, it was just great. I really loved the humor between Luke and Rey when he's teasing her about the Force. And then later, the scene with Yoda was a very pivotal and just phenomenal moment in the film. One of the best moments overall in the entire movie. I will say that. As the Resistance is fleeing the First Order, those scenes were decent. They were shot really well. I enjoyed those and the pacing of those. I really didn't care for the entire interaction between Finn and Rose. There were a few good moments there initially, but the entire sequence just didn't feel right to me for some reason. particularly when they get to Canto Bight. There is, inside the casino, it's just like there's too many people in there, too many characters in there. All of those aliens inside the Canto Bight Casino were people in costumes, they were animatronic puppets, but it seemed like there were too many, and there just seemed to be some that weren't realistic, if that sounds right for a Star Wars film. Most of them overall were really well, but there were just a few, particularly there, that end shot where the fathiers are breaking through, and there's this one short alien character screaming. It just wasn't realistic to me. Benicio del Toro's character, I felt like, was greatly underused. I believe that his part could have been written in a way that really took advantage of his skills as an actor. He was just a phenomenal actor, a really great guy, and I feel like they really misused his abilities in this film. I understand the part that they were going for, but the stammering of his speech and things like that, it just didn't sit right with me, because there's a standard, if you will, to all of his roles that doesn't change. It doesn't matter what character he's playing in a film. His personality really doesn't deviate from one role to the next. And it didn't so much in Star Wars, but there's a lot of potential there with him that they could have used, and they didn't. So maybe we'll see something in Episode 9. The whole father-year sequence, I really didn't care for. When the Resistance ship is attacked by the First Order, I didn't like the fact that Admiral Akbar was killed. To me, it seems like they're trying to erase all of the original characters, and that was a really poor way to do it, in my opinion. Also, Leia flying through space, I understand what they were trying to do, but to me, it was just unrealistic. There's certain species within the Star Wars universe that can withstand hard vacuum of space for a matter of minutes, like the Keldor, until they can possibly be rescued, and say a Keldor Jedi could maybe amplify that to an extent for a few minutes more. But a human being, everybody's got their limits. A Jedi is not some super indestructible being, and Leia isn't even a Jedi; she's just Force sensitive. So I think they really could have done that a lot differently. Again, I understand why they did it, but it was just totally unbelievable to me. Holdo's sacrifice was probably my favorite part of the entire film. I mean, it was just phenomenal, really phenomenal acting by Laura Dern. Can't say enough good things about it. Progressing forward, Finn and Phasma, I didn't care for. Again, Phasma seems like one of those characters where you have a phenomenal actress behind the costume, but the character is completely underused, underdeveloped. I mean, there's just so much that they could have done with her that they haven't done to date. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a disservice to Gwyneth for how they have not used her abilities and talents with that character. Rey and Kylo Ren going in to see Snoke. Snoke is supposed to be this all-powerful Force being who is not a Sith, supposed to be far more deadly than the Emperor, according to Andy Serkis, the actor who's done the motion capture for him. And we see him killed in just a few minutes by this really brash young man who is just full of anger and hate. And it didn't make any sense to me. Again, just a totally underused character. We don't need an entire Wikipedia page about Snoke, but to know something about him would have made more sense. I know the comparison has been made about the Emperor. We didn't know anything about him in Empire or Return of the Jedi, really. Didn't know what his name was. I get all of that, but this, to me, seemed a little bit different. We should have had some more information. I mean, his character could have really been developed carried along in a different fashion. The fight sequence with Rey and Kylo Ren against the Praetorian Guards was okay. Again, it just, to me, it was something to fill that void. It wasn't really thought out the way that it should have been, and the characters were really underused in those moments. And those few moments that we see Rey and Kylo Ren afterward, we don't see Rey escape or anything like that. That's something I think that could have been put in there. You know, that was cut off, I guess, because of the time constraints on the film. And again, that entire segment could have been written in a much, much better way. The battle sequence on Crate was okay. To me, it was really reminiscent of the attack on Hoth and Empire, and that's one reason why I didn't like it. I really wish that they had Luke there in person instead of this entire force projection thing to face off against Kylo Ren. I think that would have just been phenomenal. And I totally agree with what Mark Hamill has previously said about, you know, his character. He didn't agree with the direction that Rian Johnson took the character. He didn't feel like it was a Luke Skywalker that he knew. And all of those were creative differences that they had, but he went along with it. He enjoyed the film afterward. I get all of that. But for original trilogy fans like myself who have come to expect a certain thing, if you will, from Star Wars, because George Lucas gave us consistency. He gave us creativity. He gave us a story, whereas Lucasfilm, under the direction of Disney, is progressing it for a film that will please the fans. It's going in a different direction. It's a new generation. You know, they want to appeal to a younger generation of fans. And I understand all that, but it's really a disservice to what Star Wars is and what it stands for. And that's where my differences are with it. I do like the way that Luke goes out of the film. Like Mark Hamill, I think they should have put Luke's death in Episode 9. You know, at least had some sort of communing training with Rey again in that film before seeing her go off and face her destiny and Luke departing, you know, sort of thing. Maybe even Luke sacrificing himself to save Rey so that she can face Kylo Ren one last time, whatever, you know. So I'm a real huge fan of the Expanded Universe novels. I really enjoy the direction that those stories went in for the most part. And just from the few tidbits that George has talked about his outline for the sequel, pretty much some of that was garnered loosely into The Last Jedi. I think it could have been done much, much better. And I'm, you know, hearing a lot of rumors about the Solo standalone film not doing well. You know, Star Wars fans now are kind of 70-30 divided on The Last Jedi. 70% don't like it, 30% do. And you're hearing a lot of popular media outlets putting figures out there that aren't accurate. And I think it's going to continue that way with Episode 9. I really didn't like the fact that they used J.J. Abrams to direct Episode 7 and now Episode 9, because he is just known for trying to rewrite history, so to speak, like with Star Trek. As a matter of fact, a terminated employee from Lucasfilm stated after The Force Awakens was released that they had stated, you know, there with J.J. and Kathleen, that Episode 7 was always meant to be a soft reboot to the franchise. And that's exactly what it was. It was successful, yes, but story-wise, what did it give us? Where is it taking us? And now you have all these unanswered questions about different characters from Episode 7 and Episode 8 that we may not ever hear the real answer to in Episode 9. So there's a lot of loose ends that would have to be connected. And it's not something that I'm really anticipating or looking forward to. So those are my thoughts and feelings on Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Thank you guys for watching the video. Really appreciate all my followers and subscribers. Shout out to all of you guys. Watch my analytics. Really enjoy the conversations I have with some of you. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please visit the Facebook page by the same name, Orion's Belt Creations, where I detail all of my custom work. Also, if you haven't visited Outer Rim News, please do so. Outer Rim News is the fastest growing Star Wars news website today with over 90,000 followers and subscribers worldwide. Everything from commentaries to collectibles, comics, to live action films, animated series, video games, conventions, the live action films, much, much more. Outer Rim News covers it all. Ashley and the guys do a phenomenal job. I'm very humble and appreciative for the opportunity that Ashley presented to me back in 2016 to come on board as a contributing columnist, and I'm looking forward to writing more articles for them in the future, and just phenomenal to be a part of the Star Wars universe in such a small, small way. If you guys have ideas for things that you'd like me to discuss or talk about in future videos, send me a direct email to orionsbeltcreations@outlook.com or message me directly on Facebook, or you can leave it in the comment section under this video. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. There's more to come. May the Force be with you.